Lupin Part 2. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. In this video we are going to be reviewing Lupin Part 2, which is the second part of the French mystery thriller heist series, which sees the central character of Lupin, or Lupin, is trying to prove that his father was framed for robbery all those years ago, and of course there are loads of twists and turns along the way. Now the second part isn't as elaborate as I would have wanted it to be, or as elaborate as the first part was, but that being said, it is still super enjoyable and I cannot wait to break it down for you in this TV series review, and I'll also be doing some predictions of what could be coming up in Part 3. So the storylines in the second part of Lupin are absolutely awesome. The first one was obviously resolving the cliffhanger at the end of the first part where the son Raoul was kidnapped by the Leonard character, and when that was continued in this part, and it honestly felt a little bit like a horror movie with that confrontation in the abandoned house with the fight between Lupin and the Leonard character, and the ending where you thought that the Raoul character was being burned alive in the car trunk. It was just absolutely shocking. The next storyline was all to do with the Leonard character himself being brutally murdered in Lupin's house, and then Lupin being framed for that, and then truly being somebody that the entire country is now fearful of, and then the Ben character being stalked by the killer that was responsible for the Leonard character's death. Those sequences honestly felt very edge of your seat viewing and a true chill down your spine. We then have the love triangle between the Lupin character, Claire, and the Juliet character. Juliet was properly being manipulated in this series as well. We then have the Foundation theft, which was just truly shocking. Really does show that the Pellegrini character really has no shame, as he's willing to steal not only from his friends, but also when his friends are donating for a charitable cause. And of course we had the brilliant dramatic reveal at the end of the second part of Lupin, which is absolutely awesome. Now from a positive point of view, the thing that I really liked about the second part was all of the twists and turns, and I absolutely love the fact that at the end of each episode you would go back to the beginning and seeing what Lupin was actually doing, and the fact that he was a mastermind behind everything was absolutely awesome. I also love the fact that this time he has a bit of a team, and that he had two other people that were truly able to help him in all of his adventures. I feel like in the first part he was able to kind of do it all on his own, but this time, because the whole country is after him for theft and for murder, he obviously needed to have a bit of support. And on that point, I feel like it was such a brilliant continuation. I mean, the fact that it was called the second part really did come into its own, as it really did continue everything from the first part of this series. And finally, I absolutely love the fact that you were able to go across France, so you were able to be in Paris and Burgundy as well, which is really, really cool. However, from a negatives point of view, certain moments were a little bit predictable. For example, it was really obvious that he was recording Pellegrini's confession at the end of the final episode, and also that the financier was going to be on Lupin's team. I also feel like they could have had a few more dramatic moments, and the twists and turns themselves could have been on the same brilliant level as the first part was. But you know, that being said, all in all, it did continue the series really, really well, and the second part of Lupin from a storyline point of view was pretty awesome. So the cast and characters of Lupin are absolutely awesome, and of course they are brilliantly led by Omar Sy. Bishop himself from the X-Men universe is doing such a good job in terms of playing Arsene Lupin, or Arsene Lupin, and he just carries this show so brilliantly. You're truly rooting for this character, and it's absolutely awesome how he gets himself out of really complex types of situations. And this time, not only is he using his brain, but he's also truly using his brute strength in this part as well. Next up, we have the main villain in this series, played by Herve as the Pellegrini character, and I didn't think it was possible to hate this character any more than you already do, but he's just a true evil narcissist that has no loyalty. He will literally step on everyone and anyone that he can do in order to try to get more money, and he's just such a truly evil character in this series. Next up we have the Ben character, and they really did show how Ben is such a brilliant friend to the Lupin character, really does help him out in so many situations, and he had his own intense sequence in this series as well, when that bodyguard was really following him and stalking him, and you weren't really sure if the Ben character was going to survive. So that sequence was absolutely brilliant. Next up we have the Claire character, who understandably wanted to keep a little bit of distance from the Lupin character, especially after the fact that her son nearly died. But I do feel like they could have used Claire a little bit more in this part, and I'm sure they will do in the next season. Next up we have the Juliette character, who was only really there to be manipulated by the Lupin character and for her father to be so underhand in terms of stealing all of the money that she's raising from the foundation. Next up we have the police, and they were really showing the corruption within the police force and how rich people are able to influence the police as well. But obviously the Dumont character had justice happening to him by the end of this series as well. I also love the fact that Yusuf, who was part of the police force, was really admiring the Lupin character and somewhat was a little bit of a partner to him as well. And I also really like the fact, like I said before, that there was a third member as part of Lupin's crew. But like I said before as well, it was really obvious that he was going to be a bit of a double agent when he was on Pellegrini's side. But all in all, from a cast and character's point of view, the second part of Lupin was absolutely awesome. So from a visuals point of view, Lupin never disappoints, as everything looks absolutely awesome. Not only do you get to see all of France, but all of the chase sequences are always really intense. It never gets boring at all, and it is a true visual delight on screen as well. There are also really cool sequences in the final episode where you get to see the foundation, which looked truly glamorous. I love the fact that they had the band on stage as well, and the fact that they had so many guests in one location. I really did think that they must have filmed that before the pandemic happened. I absolutely loved returning to the Louvre, which was obviously from the first episode of the entire Lupin series, which was absolutely hilarious. Speaking of first episodes, I love the encounter that we had in the first episode of the second part in the abandoned house. I thought that was really cool. Definitely had a little bit of a thriller vibe to it. Another thriller vibe was the chase in the catacombs with the skulls everywhere. I thought that was really cool, especially seeing it from a tourist point of view was really entertaining. I think they really do show the discrepancy between rich people and poor people really well in the show as well, and they had that brilliant finale in the boat sequence with the Lupin character just chasing off into the sunset, which I thought was a really dramatic way to end the second part. And so from a visuals point of view, this show is also pretty wicked. So from a comparisons point of view, like I said before, I don't think it was as elaborate as the first part was. This time it was definitely a lot more focused on the crime thriller and the resolution side of things, rather than being a bit of an Ocean's 11 remake. But you know, that being said, I think it tackled racism in the same way as the first part did. One of the examples was by the violin owner not wanting to serve the Assane Diop character, and the other example was of course by the Pellegrini character, who just truly used and abused black people just for his own self-interest. And I feel like they showcased that really well in this series. In terms of comparing it to other medium, I think the second part of Lupin was so much stronger than The Hustle, Hustlers and Ocean's 12. And I think it was a really great example of how you can use the heist formula in a bit of a serialized way. So from a comparisons point of view, Lupin the second part is also pretty solid. So originally, I only thought Lupin was going to be a bit of a two-part limited series, but at the end of the second part, we get confirmation that it is going to come back for a third part. I do feel like they concluded and resolved all of the main storylines from the first part really well in the second part. But that being said, here are my predictions of what I think could happen in the third part. So the first one is that I think that Lupin could come back and fully clear his name and also clear Ben's name, as he is now on the register by the police characters as well. I also feel like he will get back together with the Claire character. Claire at the end of the second part had a little bit of a change of heart and was now seeming to want to get back together with the Arsene Diop character. I'm sure Juliette will be in there in terms of causing a bit more of a love triangle, but I also don't know what happened to the previous partner that Claire was with throughout the second part. He seemed to have disappeared. I wonder if he will also come back as well. I also have a little bit of a suspicion that his dad is still alive as well. Now that he's cleared his name, I wonder if he's able to return to Paris and continue with his life like it was beforehand. Obviously, we saw that the Lupin character escaped jail in a seemingly similar way to what his father did, so I'm guessing that he's still alive as well. And also, now that all of the main mysteries surrounding the Arsene Diop character are resolved, I wonder if he's going to become a bit of a detective character and solve mysteries on his own. I would think maybe he'd join with the police force, but he did say in the first episode of the second part that he doesn't really want to be associated with them. And I also wonder if he'll go outside of France with the Lupin character to try to solve mysteries more from an international perspective, which I think will be really interesting. But all in all, I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next in Lupin Part 3. So overall, I have to say I really enjoyed the second part of Lupin. I think they did a really good job in terms of resolving everything from the first part, and all of the evil people were caught and justice was truly served. I do feel like they could have had a few more elaborate heist aspects in there and some more dramatic moments like they had in the first part, but you know, that being said, it was still a wicked series, super addictive, super brilliant twists and turns in there as well, and I already cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the third part. But as far as the second part of Lupin is concerned, I have to give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.